China's robot fighting league isn't just concerning, it's unlike anything the world has ever built. In Shenzhen, fully autonomous humanoid robots are stepping into arenas, executing spinning kicks, 360-degree aerial rotations, and real-time tactical combat. And the machines doing it stand 5 feet 8 inches tall and weigh 165 pounds. China has already poured $26 billion in government funding into the robotics companies behind this. You heard that right, $26 billion. Enough to fund NASA's entire annual budget twice over, all funneled into a single coordinated push to build the most combat-capable machines on Earth. What's being sold to the world as entertainment is something far more serious, and by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why. Here's where it starts, with the league itself and why it's nothing like what you've seen before. The league itself. On February 9th, 2026, in the heart of Shenzhen, China, something the world had never seen before officially opened its doors. Not a tech conference, not a laboratory demonstration, a fighting league with arenas, brackets, referees, knockout rules, and a championship prize. They called it the Ultimate Robot Knockout Legend, or URKL. And the moment it launched, the world crossed a line it can't uncross. Here's what makes this different from anything you've seen before. This isn't remote-controlled robots smashing into each other like BattleBots. These are fully autonomous, human-sized machines, standing 5 feet 8 inches tall, weighing 165 pounds, making their own decisions in real time, executing spinning kicks and 360-degree aerial combat moves with zero human input during the fight. The teams don't control the robots mid-match. They build the AI, load it in, and then they watch. What happens inside that arena is entirely up to the machine. But this was just the beginning of how deep this goes. The structure of URKL isn't casual. It runs on a best-of-3 format, 5 minutes of net competition time per round, with strict knockout rules. If a robot gets knocked down, it has 10 seconds to stand back up on its own, autonomously, without help. If it can't, that's a technical knockout. Battery swaps mid-round are banned. Robot replacements are only allowed once per match, only under catastrophic failure, and only with referee approval. These aren't the rules of a showcase. These are the rules of a serious combat sport, built to push machines to their absolute breaking point. And then, there's who's behind it. URKL was launched by EngineAI, a Shenzhen robotics company operating inside China's most advanced technology corridor, the same city that birthed Huawei, DJI, and Tencent. At the launch event, seated alongside the company's CEO was Buakaw Banchamek, one of the most decorated Muay Thai champions in history. China wasn't just building a robot league. It was positioning this as the future of combat sports, stamped with the credibility of a world champion and the backing of the Chinese state. The prize for winning? A pure gold championship belt weighing 22 pounds, valued at $1.4 million. You heard that right. A 22-pound solid gold belt, heavier than most championship trophies in any sport on Earth, awarded to the team whose AI fights best. But the gold belt isn't the real prize. The real prize is what gets built in the process of winning it. Because what China figured out, and what the rest of the world is only starting to realize, is that this league isn't about entertainment. It's described by their own experts as a comprehensive industrial platform, an expert stress test, a way to do in months what would otherwise take years in a lab. The tagline of the launch event was, "Disrupt, clash for the peak." And that phrase wasn't aimed at the audience in the arena. It was aimed at every other nation watching from the outside. But the league is just the container. What's inside the container, the machines themselves, is where the real story begins. You heard that right. Their own spec sheet says this machine outperforms 9 out of 10 human men physically. And that's the version they're handing out for free to university teams and research labs as a starting point. But the machines aren't fighting alone. Each team loads in their own autonomous AI system, their own brain, and what happens inside that arena is a live, unscripted, real-world test of how well that AI can fight, adapt, and win. And that's where the story stops being about hardware entirely. Because what these machines are learning inside that arena, round by round, fight by fight, is something no lab can simulate. Meet the machines. Before you can understand why this league is alarming, you need to understand exactly what's inside that arena. Because the moment you look at the actual specs of these machines, not the marketing, not the hype, the real numbers, something shifts in how you see all of this. The robot competing in URKL is called the EngineAI T800, and yes, the name is intentional. They named it after the Terminator. That's not an accident, that's a statement. It stands 5 feet 8 inches tall. It weighs 165 pounds. It's built from aviation-grade aluminum, the same material used in aircraft frames, designed to absorb punishment and keep moving. It has 29 degrees of freedom across its body, meaning it can move in 29 independent directions simultaneously, more than enough to throw a punch, absorb a counter, shift its weight, and recalibrate its balance all at once. And its knee joints alone can generate up to 450 Newton-meters of torque. To put that in terms you can feel, that's roughly the same rotational force as a high-performance motorcycle engine firing through a single joint in its leg. But the torque numbers aren't even the most alarming part. When the first footage of the T800 in action dropped online, people refused to believe it was real. Reddit threads exploded. Engineers slowed the footage down frame by frame, looking for CGI artifacts. The robot was executing airborne double kicks, spinning kicks, 360-degree aerial rotations, movements so fluid, so fast, so precise that the internet collectively decided it had to be fake. EngineAI responded the only way they could. Their CEO, Zhao Tongyang, walked into a plane studio, stood in front of the T800, and let it kick him across the room, shot from multiple angles, no editing, no effects. The CEO of the company filming himself getting knocked down by his own robot just to prove to the world that what they were seeing was real, and it was. Then came the detail that changes everything. The T800 doesn't move the way most robots move. Traditional humanoid robots operate on static stability. Move a limb, confirm balance, move the next limb. Safe, predictable, slow. The T800 operates on dynamic stability, which means it is constantly falling and catching itself, exactly the way a human does when running or fighting. That distinction sounds technical, but what it means in practice is this. The T800 can throw a spinning kick mid-stride, absorb the landing, and immediately recalibrate for the next move. All in real time, all autonomously, all without a single human input. Its onboard LiDAR system maps its environment at millisecond intervals. It sees the arena, tracks its opponent, and makes combat decisions faster than any human reflex can fire. And it doesn't get tired. It runs on a modular solid-state battery for up to 4 hours of continuous high-intensity operation. No adrenaline crash, no muscle fatigue, no hesitation. Every single movement it makes is as precise as the first, whether it's in round 1 or round 15. Now here's what EngineAI said in their own documentation, and this part matters. They stated that the T800's overall physical performance exceeds that of 90% of adult males. The alarming capability gap. You've seen what this machine can do in an arena. Now it's time to ask the question no one in the coverage of this league wants to say out loud. What happens when something capable of doing all of that? The spinning kicks, the aerial rotations, the 450 Newton-meters of torque through a single leg joint is no longer pointed at another robot? Let's just do the math, because the math alone is enough to stop you cold. Research shows it takes between 1,000 and 1,500 newtons of force to cause a significant skull fracture in an average human being. The T800's leg joints can generate 450 Newton-meters of torque, and torque is what drives the speed and power of a strike. For comparison, an elite professional boxer at peak output generates around 5,000 newtons in a punch. A trained expert delivering a kick, with more body mass behind it, can reach up to 9,000 newtons. The T800 is not yet publicly benchmarked for exact strike force output in combat. But when you're running 14,000 watts of peak power through actuators built from aerospace-grade aluminum, executing kicks precise enough to send a padded CEO skidding across a studio floor, you are not operating anywhere near the forces the human body was built to absorb. And unlike a human fighter, it doesn't need to protect its hands. It doesn't feel pain. It doesn't pull a punch by instinct. But the raw force isn't even the most unsettling part. What makes this machine dangerous to a human being isn't just how hard it can hit, it's how fast it can decide to hit. The T800's 360-degree LiDAR system maps everything within reach in milliseconds. It tracks your position, your posture, your movement, constantly, without blinking, without losing focus. The average human reaction time to a visual stimulus is around 250 milliseconds. By the time your brain registers that a strike is incoming and signals your body to move, the T800 has already processed your position, selected a target, calculated the optimal strike angle, and executed. You don't get to react. You're already on the ground before you knew the decision had been made. Then there's something EngineAI published in their own documentation that you need to sit with for a moment. The T800 has what they call a force control accuracy of 5%. What that means in plain language is this: the machine knows, at all times, exactly how much force it is applying. It can distinguish between a controlled demonstration tap and a full-power strike. It can calibrate the difference between shaking a hand and breaking a wrist, precisely, repeatably, on command. That's not the spec of a machine that might accidentally hurt someone. That's the spec of a machine that can choose exactly how much damage to inflict. And it will never tire of making that choice. No adrenaline, no hesitation, no moral conflict. Just 4 hours of uninterrupted, precision-calibrated, combat-trained output against a human body that starts breaking down under stress in minutes. Now here is where EngineAI's own words become the most telling thing of all. They stated, without any apparent concern, that the T800's physical performance exceeds that of 90% of adult males. Their official spec sheet uses the phrase, exceeds the physical strength and endurance of most adult human workers. That language was written to sell robots for factory floors, but read it again in this context. They built a machine that outperforms 9 out of 10 human men, gave it combat training, stress-tested it in a fighting league, and are now preparing to mass-produce it and ship it globally, starting mid-2026. The company framed all of this as industrial progress. But what you've just been walked through is a machine that can locate you faster than you can react, strike with calibrated precision, sustain that output for hours, and feel none of the biological limits that have always kept human violence bounded. And here's what makes that realization land even harder. Every time one of these machines steps into that arena and fights every round, every knockdown, every tactical adjustment, its AI is learning, getting better, updating, and the pace of that improvement is something the world has genuinely never seen before. The AI learning loop. Here's something that most coverage of this league completely misses. And once you understand it, the whole picture changes. Every single fight inside that arena is a data collection event, not just for the winning team, for everyone. Every punch thrown, every kick landed, every fall, every failed recovery, every stumble, every split-second balance, correction, all of it is being captured, logged, analyzed, and fed back into the AI. The machine that walks into round 2 is not the same machine that walked into round 1. It has already been updated, already adjusted, already made slightly harder to beat than it was 5 minutes ago. That's not a figure of speech. That's the architecture. But this was just the beginning of what makes the loop so dangerous. China's own experts have confirmed on record what this process actually achieves. Tian Feng, former dean of SenseTime's Intelligence Industry Research Institute, one of the most respected voices in Chinese AI, stated publicly that real-world combat testing can shorten technology development cycles by more than 30% compared to lab-based simulation. 30% faster. In an industry where every month of iteration matters, that number is enormous. What would take a research team a full year to validate in a controlled environment gets validated in 8 months inside that arena. And the league runs all the way through December, fight after fight after fight, month after month, compounding every single time. Then came the detail that makes this truly unlike anything else happening in robotics anywhere on Earth. In a standard lab environment, you can simulate an opponent. You can model impact forces. You can run thousands of virtual training scenarios. But there is one thing no simulation can fully replicate: genuine unpredictability. A real opponent who is also an AI, also learning, also adapting, who will throw a combination you have never seen before because they just invented it 3 rounds ago based on what beat them last time. That is what's happening inside URKL. You don't just have one AI learning from combat. You have 16 teams of AIs learning from each other simultaneously, each one discovering the other's weaknesses, exploiting them, getting countered, adapting, and coming back smarter. The entire league is one massive closed-loop intelligence accelerator. And it isn't just URKL that was feeding this loop. Before URKL even launched, China's robot combat ecosystem was already in full motion. In May of 2025, China Media Group broadcast the first humanoid robot boxing tournament on national state television, watched by millions across the country. Unitree's G1 robots threw real punches, executed real dodges, and absorbed real hits, all while their AI reinforcement training systems logged every microsecond of footage to improve the next iteration. The data from that event fed directly into the generation of robots competing today. This isn't a new experiment. This is a pipeline. And URKL is the most sophisticated version of it yet. Here's what that means in practical terms. The AI systems being trained inside that arena are learning something no Western robotics lab has ever been able to teach their machines at this scale. How to fight, how to read an opponent in real time, how to absorb a blow and recalibrate without falling, how to choose between attack and defense in a fraction of a second under genuine physical pressure. These aren't simulated combat skills. These are combat skills earned through actual combat, tested against real resistance, refined under real consequences. And every team that walks into that arena, every university lab, every startup, every research group handed a free T800, is feeding their results back into China's broader robotics intelligence ecosystem. EngineAI designed this openly. They called it a closed-loop system, spanning research, manufacturing, application, and investment. They said it out loud. The arena is not just a testing ground for machines. It's a national intelligence accelerator wearing a championship belt. But the AI learning loop is only one side of the equation. Because all of this development costs money, and the people funding it have figured out something the rest of the world hasn't yet. The money, the machine, and what comes next. Here's the part of this story that seals it. Because everything you've just heard, the league, the machines, the capability gap, the AI learning loop, none of it exists in isolation. It exists inside a business model so powerful it can fund itself indefinitely. And once you see the full shape of it, you can't unsee it. Morgan Stanley projects the global humanoid robot market will reach $5 trillion by 2050. You heard that right, $5 trillion. Twice the size of the entire global auto industry today, all flowing through machines that were born in arenas exactly like the one in Shenzhen. China's own projections are even more aggressive. Their domestic humanoid robot market alone is forecasted to hit 870 billion yuan by 2030. And right now, in 2026, China already accounts for more than 80% of all humanoid robot installations on Earth. The league isn't just a proving ground. It's a product launch on a global stage, broadcast to every investor, government, and military buyer watching. But the money is only one layer, and it isn't even the most concerning one. Here's what URKL actually feeds into, and this is where the dual-use reality stops being a theory and becomes a documented fact. While EngineAI was building its fighting league in Shenzhen, another Chinese robotics company, UB Tech, secured a contract worth $37 million to deploy humanoid robots along China's border with Vietnam for patrol and surveillance operations. Not in a lab, not in a demonstration. On a live border. The same year, the Fighting League launched, and in November of 2025, just weeks before URKL kicked off, China's People's Liberation Army demonstrated a motion-controlled combat robot at the 12th International Army Cadets Week in Nanjing, showcased to military representatives from 13 foreign countries. The PLA didn't just attend a tech fair, they walked 13 nations through what a combat-ready humanoid robot looks like in action. And then came the detail that no one in the entertainment coverage mentioned at all. China's own Ministry of National Defense published an article titled, "Pay Attention to the Military Application of Humanoid Robots." In it, they drew a direct parallel to aviation, writing that just as nobody could have predicted aerial bombing when the Wright brothers first flew, nobody should underestimate what combat-capable humanoids will become once the technology matures. That wasn't written by a defense analyst on the outside speculating. That was written by the Chinese military about their own program, on their own platform. They said it out loud. The arena and the armory are drawing from the same well. Think about what that means for the machines being trained in URKL right now. Every AI system that fights its way through that tournament this year will leave with something no Western robotics program can replicate in a controlled lab. Genuine, unscripted, high-stakes combat experience. The ability to read an opponent in real time. The ability to take a hit, recover autonomously, and recalibrate strategy without human input. The ability to win. Those skills don't stay in the arena. They transfer directly to a security robot patrolling a border checkpoint, to a military unit operating in a human-built urban environment, to an enforcement machine that never gets tired, never hesitates, and cannot be intimidated. This is the full picture. A government-backed ecosystem producing more than 150 humanoid robotics companies. A league that stress tests their AI in live combat and compresses years of development into months. A $5 trillion commercial market funding the whole thing. And a military apparatus that has already told the world, in writing, exactly where this is heading. The entertainment is real. The sport is real. The prize belt is real. But none of that is what's actually being built inside that arena in Shenzhen every time two machines step into the ring and the fight begins. What's being built is a generation of autonomous fighters with combat-tested AI, trained on Chinese soil, at Chinese scale, under Chinese government direction. And they are not being built to stay in the ring.